Cleveland and Kansas City. Baker Mayfield's going to go in to play Kansas City, fresh off a bye. Basically 2 byes, Kyle. They sat week 17. They sat again last week. Now they're rested and ready and playing at home. We know how good Andy Reid is at game planning with more than 1 week off. I mean, heck, they probably could have game planned for both teams last week, being the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, and still had more than enough time to switch it over this week once they found out exactly who they were playing. The over-unders we talked about at 57s across the board for a playoff game, which how does that translate into the NFL? 1 drive into the red zone, 1 stop on 4th and 1, 1 missed 45-yard field goal, and you're not getting that 57. You need everything to break right. Now, when you take a look at these 2 offenses, Cleveland's coming in explosive on offense. Back half of the season, they've really got it together. Both running backs healthy. Even the loss of Odell Beckham doesn't seem to matter. Jarvis Landry's been a monster. That offensive line, the best in football, might be a little bit hamstrung this weekend, but they've been putting up points. But every time you look at Kansas City, it's one of those things. It's a 10-point line. It's an amazingly high number. Kansas City doesn't cover. But you tell me out there, people in the chat box, when you watch Kansas City and you're betting on the opposite team, how many times Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and 4 has nothing back there, rolls out to his left and throws a laser across the field for a first down to a seemingly wide open Travis Kelce every single time? It's going to happen. But again, you're getting the 10 points. If I'm looking at Cleveland, which running the football is not really the recipe for success in today's NFL. I can say it all I want to on blue in the face. Give Chubb 30 carries. Give Chubb 30 carries. It's hard to do because, the Jerome Bogers of the world throw 1 flag down and you're 2nd and 20. There goes your drive, and you're not trying to run the football anymore. But their pathway to victory is leaning on that offensive line, running the ball and using play action. I don't think, Kyle, they go into this game, Kevin Stefanski coming back and he says, you know what, Kyle? You know what's perfect in this game? We're going to drop back 55 times and say, you know what? My quarterback's better than you, Patrick Mahomes. That's not the way to victory here. Both of these teams will move the football, but we're not dealing, Kyle, with 47. We're dealing with 57.
Yeah, and if Baker Mayfield throws the ball 55 times, the Browns are going to be losing by 35 points. That's just the bottom line. They will, and I love that you brought up Jerome Boger, because am I the only one who remember the ladies' man with trying to remember
Cavassier, man.
Cavassier. That is Jerome Boger every time. Holding 15-yard penalty, 1st down. And Cavassier. Oh, I love Jerome Boger every time, but he does call the dumbest holding penalties. I can't stand him in that regard. But look, you're right. Cleveland, their only hope in this game is they're going to have to keep scoring points. So do they necessarily need to run the ball 60 times? No, but they do need to run it successfully on 1st and 2nd down so that when it's 3rd down, it's not 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. That's not how you're going to beat Kansas City. Now you're playing into their strengths. They can drop some more people back and sort of protect some of the weaknesses in the secondary. Bashad Breeland, very, very good. Charvarius Ward, not so much. Safeties, I know you've got, Honey Badger, and that's all fine and dandy. Not really the same player he was. But it's hard for me. And look, Kansas City does not cover the spread. They just don't seem to cover spreads. They don't put their foot on the neck. And, I'm taking the under in this one, especially as I see the winds pick up a little bit. I'm not sure that Cleveland can keep up with the pace. I do think it's going to force Baker Mayfield into some mistakes and Kansas City get some turnovers in this game. So the bet for me in this game is the under. I will not take the Chiefs as double-digit favorites until they prove to me they can cover a spread and play 4 full quarters. Will they go up by 10 on this game? They sure could. It wouldn't shock me at all if this game is, 28-10 or 21-7, early, midway, 3rd quarter. And then, Cleveland sort of gets a backdoor cover, and you're never really concerned that Kansas City is going to lose the game. It feels like that type of game to me where Kansas City is always in control, but does Kansas City keep the pedal to the metal and try to blow this team out? They haven't really done that this year. 57.5, 57 is just too high for me. Does it have the potential to go over? Sure, but you're right. I mean, that first drive, all it's going to take, a 9-play Kansas City drive where they're hitting Kelce for a 1st down on every 3rd down. They take 6 minutes off the clock. Boom, they kick a field goal. Browns come down, kick another field goal. Your over is dead. I mean, you need everything to go absolutely right. So I took the under 57. If I'm picking a side, I would take the Chiefs to win. I think they're exponentially better than Cleveland, as I've been saying for a while. The Cleveland Browns are frauds. I don't think they're a good football team. They're the one team that does not belong in this round of the playoffs, in my opinion. Sorry, Browns fans. But I just don't trust the Chiefs enough to cover that spread, so I'll take the under 57.
It's interesting, too, because you see the Browns team total here at some outlets, 22.5 minus 125, and say, sign me up for that. Like, how do they not at least get 24 points in this game? it seems too easy to be true. And on the vice versa side, you see the Kansas City Chiefs are like a 34.5 team total, which they should be able to get, but no way, shape, or form will I ever bet a pro football team total at 34.5, because that's a Patrick Mahomes bangs his thumb off a helmet and you don't cover that because that's a ridiculous number. But take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs down the stretch. Forget about the Chargers game, which they didn't play anybody. But if we date this back about a month to the Denver Broncos game, which they won 22-16, 179 yards on the ground, which is a lot, 151 in the air. Then they played the Miami Dolphins, 80 yards on the ground, 287 in the air, which is, about average. New Orleans Saints, 60 yards on the ground, 225 in the air. And then the Atlanta Falcons, 90 yards on the ground, 277 in the air. So I think always the preconceived notion here, Kyle, the Kansas City defense, they don't stop anybody like they're Jacksonville. They have pretty good coordinators on that team that, again, have a week off to game plan and get ready for a team that just played last week. I'm not going to be surprised if Kansas City plays well on defense, but I would be surprised if they hold Cleveland Browns here, Kyle, under 20 points.
Yeah, under 20 seems a little bit low. And I see in the chat box the Browns have a better chance of winning than the Rams do. That is way too many mushrooms are cracked today, my friend, because that is absolutely ridiculous. The Rams have a way better chance against the Packers than the Browns do against the Chiefs. But you're right, that 20 is low. And, speaking of team totals, my favorite team total on this whole slate is the Rams, 19.5, honest to God. But I think you're right. The Browns should get over 20. Now, Kansas City as well, believe the stat was in Andy Reid's last 8 games as coach of the Chiefs with a bye week, they haven't scored anything less than 31 points. So then you start talking yourself into that over, right? But I can't do it. I'm not betting a 34.5 team total like you said, and I'm not betting an over 57.5. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's crazy. You talk about that Rams team total. They're sitting at that 19.5. Like I had 18.5 and it won because they got 30 points. And I'm so hesitant to jump back on there because I just, Jared Goff just gets on my nerves. But anyway, some information here on injuries. Jack Conklin is yet to practice this week with the hamstring. It looks like he blew his leg off last week. So if he plays, he's going to be very marginalized, which is a massive loss for the Cleveland Browns in that game. Ronald Jones back at practice for the Buccaneers, and also Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Sammy Watkins both missed practice today. So something to keep an eye on as we go into the weekend. That's why I just talked about Kansas City being less explosive. Can you see Andy Reid dialing up those screen passes with a healthy Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this game? He's not going to be healthy for this one. So we'll see what we get out of Le'Veon Bell. Capable running back, but not Le'Veon Bell of 5 years ago, right? So we're getting a little bit of a downgrade in that instance.